This episode of Around the Layout is brought to you by Highball Graphics. For over 25 years, Highball Graphics has been providing high-quality decals for railroads in New England, Canada, and beyond. With over 2,000 sets in scales N through G, Highball Graphics has you and your project covered. Highball Graphics specializes in custom decal orders, serving freelance railroads worldwide. Check out their easy-to-use website at highballgraphics.com or email them at info@highballgraphics.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Around the Layout, where model railroaders come to tell their story. My name is Ray Arnott. So glad you could join us. It's time once again to find out what's happening in model railroading, and joining me is the editor of Model Railroad News, Tony Cook. Tony, welcome to the show.
Hey, Ray, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. It's good to see you again, my friend, and looking forward to finding out what's new in the hobby. You sent me yet another long list, and I'm looking forward to talking about that. And did you know it's almost Christmas, Tony?
It is almost Christmas, and some folks think of Santa Claus and the North Pole, but if you are a hobbyist, you probably think of Ken Bianco Jr. and Trainworld in New York as where the elves make all the fun stuff. Well, they bring the fun stuff to us. And yeah, we've got Ken Jr. today to talk about. It's getting close. I know that, we're getting down to the wire, but there is still time on Christmas stuff. So this is kind of a last minute, late shoppers, as I think we all are. I think I'm still poking around and looking at different things for Christmas buying, and always great deals, exclusives, holiday things. So yeah, we've got Ken Jr. from Trainworld today.
Awesome. Looking forward to hearing about Trainworld. And I know you do some stuff with Ken, so let's bring him in. Ken, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much both for having me today. It's a pleasure and an honor. So I really appreciate the opportunity on this.
He doesn't look that frazzled to me, considering it's, we're almost down to single digit days till Christmas. That this has to be a busy time of year, Ken. How's it going this season?
It's great. This is the time of season that it's magical. People are ready, excited, a lot of newcomers into the hobby. So it's just overall a great time. People purchasing gifts. People want to get their tree decorated with a beautiful train set. So it's exciting. And the magic of trains is the excitement, whether old, middle age, or young. No matter what age, there's a train for everybody out there. So it's really neat, and it's fun, exciting. So I'm happy to be on the show as well.
A lot of our guests that have come on have really, as we start to ask them how they got started in the hobby, a lot of the common answers evolve around Christmas. Usually that first train set comes from the Christmas time, and that the excitement of that. So I think this is just a perfect tie-in to talk to you, and as like you said, the magical part of Christmas and how it ties into the model railroading start of things.
Yeah, I mean, Christmas is synonymous with trains and train sets. It just goes hand in hand. And so I think there's something that's just magical about it. And the Polar Express has done so much for the industry, and the starter set, it's actually probably the biggest starter set in the industry. So it's just amazing.
And you guys stock everything. I mean, size-wise, you talk about a train around the tree and people just getting started. I think that's one of the things, whether you're actually going into like Trainland there in New York, Lindbergh, or going online to trainworld.com, you've got train sets from N all the way up to G, so people can get their hands on, look at, whether it's virtually online or coming into the store. And I guess, as you say, the Christmas stuff, a lot of folks, I guess they come in just like, I want to put a train around the tree. I don't think of that because, I always have trains, and trains are year round. But I guess that's a pretty common, hey, what can you tell me about putting a train around the tree, and what does that take? So that's got to be a fun thing to interact with people that want to do that and haven't experienced it before.
That's the question. People walk in the store, and it's really awesome because in their minds, they're like, oh, I got to have a train set. So they just walk in the store. They know nothing about trains. And that's the excitement about it, because we bring them to the layout. And like you said, we carry all these different scales, and we even carry Z scale now starter sets, which are a huge novelty gift now. But we bring them to the layout and we show them all the different sizes on this one layout. We have G scale on it, O scale, HO, N scale, and their eyes just light up. And that's the excitement about trains. You know, you look at a layout and you see all this moving animation going back, the smoking, the chuffing, the sounds, the smoke going throughout the store. It's just energy. So as soon as we turn on that layout and they see it, you know, you have them hooked into trains for a lifetime. And whether, you know, they do it this season or when they have a child or a grandson or a granddaughter, you know, throughout their lifetime, they will always be a part of model trains. And I think that's why it's so important to have retail stores and even these videos and podcasts and video streams and magazines that talk about all the great things that model trains have to offer. So it's really a nice time of year. But as soon as they see that layout, then they go from there. Okay, do I want G scale, the biggest size? Do I want N scale, you know, something smaller? Where can I fit it? So there's so many decisions that these people have to think about and make, and it's just exciting. And that's part of the sales process, and, you know, just the guidance. It's more guidance on what kind of layout you want or what kind of train you want around the tree.
Yeah, you highlight something that's really important there with the importance of brick and mortar. And I know you have a website as well with trainworld.com, but that ability to come in and have all those senses and that feel, and there's just nothing that can replace that, especially when you're learning the hobby. And brick and mortar hobby shops like yourself play such an important role in getting people into the hobby and keeping them in the hobby and then enthused as they are able to, you know, touch, see, feel, and smell, and all those great things that happen when you're in person.
You mentioned the Polar Express set and how popular it is. What scale, what size do you think has been the most popular this holiday season? Has there been any surprises? Or you mentioned the Z scale, and I know we've talked that before on other shows, that just that curiosity of the trains that are so tiny. But like, what's one of the hot items this holiday season that's kind of surprised you a little bit?
Surprise, Z scale continues to surprise me as a growing segment, and people like the novelty and idea that it's so small that it's just, you know, you could put it on a coffee top or on the side, and it's just a cute little gift. So that definitely continues to surprise. But by far the biggest name in model trains, and, you know, for the general household, is Lionel Trains. And the Lionel Trains with the starter set, it goes hand in hand with Christmas and a train around the tree. It's just unbelievable. And the Lionel has done a great job getting people into the hobby. I mean, they have these new starter sets. You could control it by Bluetooth. You could control it by a handheld remote. So these kids are excited. They're walking around the bedroom or the dining room or living room, running around with the handheld remote. They're turning it up, turning it down, pressing the sounds, pressing the coupler. You know, now they're an engineer. And, you know, it was a different time back then with a regular transformer where you had to stay stationary. And now you could do it from a couch, you know, a sofa. You could kick up that recliner. So it's really exciting. And it's a great time to be a kid with a train set, and as well as an adult, you know, and that's the magic about trains. It's people of all ages and all different, whoever you are, it's just a great hobby.
And one of the things I want to mention on, you know, if you're looking for Christmas gifts or something unique, you guys have a lot of exclusives. I saw your one guy that does unboxing videos had that new HO scale GP30 from Broadway Limited in the black bonnet which, Ray, I'm sure you've seen some of those, that Trainworld does the exclusive on the Santa Fe black bonnet for a lot of different releases. They've got all the way up to that brass hybrid blue Goose coming out that way, that F unit from Broadway Limited, but I saw the Jeep 30, and then the Bowser Long Island RS3, and is awesome. They have an exclusive paint on that. So if you're looking for something unique for a hobbyist, the Trainworld exclusives, and I believe there's a tab, isn't there, Ken, on the website that you can go just to look at things that can only be bought from Trainworld because they're exclusives from other manufacturers?
Yes. So we definitely partner up with a ton of different manufacturers in our industry. And that's what makes it so fun, because we've had these long-term relationships with all these great manufacturers in the industry. And we do have a separate tab for Trainworld exclusive items. We make G scale, O scale, HO, N scale, all different array of scales of exclusive items, different items. And we have a lot of experience and knowledge of what sells well in one scale, and maybe we try it in a different scale. So I think that's what kind of makes us unique and different. A lot of stores, they may carry just HO or N scale, or maybe they just carry G scale or just O scale. We carry everything. So it's we have a little more knowledge in our back pocket that we try to use.
And I know some of the holiday releases are they always seem to be closer and closer every year. And I saw in the email this week that those new N-scale, I think they're 462 Pacifics from Broadway Limited, have arrived. And there's a couple of special holiday decorations on those. So there's also Christmas exclusive or holiday, which is always an annual thing. Isn't like Pico and G and Lionel. A lot of people now, will do commemorative or annual cars that become, real collectible pieces.
Yeah, and that's what's so great about this hobby during Christmas time. Just because you get a train set one year doesn't mean it stops. Every year we have customers coming in the store the following year, adding on to their layout. They want to know what's the new Christmas car? What can they add on? Can they add on more track? Could they add on a new piece of rolling stock, a different engine? I mean, Broadway Limited, like you said, they just came out with these N-scale, beautiful paint decorated Christmas engines. Pico, they make a Christmas car every year. Same thing with LGB. Lionel, they have a slew of different Christmas cars, add-ons for Polar Express, just a huge assortment, as well as MTH. They make these beautiful lighted rolling stock. And, I think both of you have probably seen in the past, now the real railroad is getting into lighted trains and Christmas time, and some of these model train manufacturers have been replicated those paint schemes as well.
It's amazing the how well your website is done, trainworld.com, and of course right at the top you've got all the Christmas offerings. But talk about your retail store, because I had the experience of going in there and seeing it, and I can hear the hustle and bustle going on behind you, Ken, as folks are coming in to make those last minute Christmas purchases. Tell us about your retail store and if we were to make a visit down to Long Island.
Yeah, so we have two different stores, Trainworld and Trainland. Trainland is our retail flagship store that's in Long Island, Limbrook, New York. We have been here for a long time, many years, and it's just great. We have many operating layouts, and because we're close to the city, we've been involved with numerous productions, and as well as have a ton of special guests. So it's really exciting, magical. We offer all different scales in the store. We have walls from top to bottom with trains, O scale, G scale, and it's amazing. You have the G scale engines on the wall, which are like huge and massive, and then you have O scale engines on the wall, and some of these O scale engines are just so expensive. So we have from, it could be a couple of $100 to, a couple $1,000 on the wall. And so when you're a new consumer or just walking in, it's like, wow, what did I just walk into? But we do have two operating layouts, one with all different scales, and we like to put all different scales on one layout so people see what the size difference is. And that's the biggest question. Like, when you think about trains, okay, I walk in, well, what is N scale? What's HO scale? What's O scale? So it's really that visual demonstration, and you could say this is O scale, this is G scale, and people know right off the bat what kind of size they want to get into. And then we also have this really nice O scale layout that was done by Trainworks, professionally done, and they do such a great job on these custom layouts. It's just unbelievable. We would never be able to put something together like that. So big shout out to them. They do a great job with these beautiful builds, and they've built layouts for like BNSF Railway, all these charity events. Just great job with that. And we offer train sets around the store, and high end, low end, beginner, starter, advanced, all different trains for all different experience levels.
And you said you've been there in the store in Lynbrook for a long time, and I think, what is it, back to maybe the 60s? When did you know when the retail business first, like, for everybody knows a Trainworld name and they know you, but you're what, second generation for Trainworld? What, give us just the little short version of the Trainworld story and the Biancos and like your uncle, the people involved in the business.
Sure. We're actually up to third generation now.
Okay.
Which, if you look at the statistics, it's very rare to be a third generational business. So we're very excited and happy that we have survived that statistic, but we are actually doing better now than ever before. We've been in business for well over 50 years, through past the 60s, and that started out in Trainworld in Brooklyn. Then my grandfather expanded to Long Island, which it wasn't even intended for a train store, but we bought it from House of Mulroney's, and he kind of wanted to sell cars, but the town wouldn't allow it. So he said, let's do trains, model trains. And that was the expansion for retail out in Long Island. So we have been surviving and going strong, and the hobby is better now than ever been before.
This holiday season, there's one item that I've seen it promoted a couple of times. If you're really looking for something different as a holiday gift and something special and like something that somebody's really going to remember, and you've got a railroad person, tell me about the wristwatch project that's happening. I saw that and it's like, wow.
Yeah, so this is definitely unique and different for the industry. We contacted Ball Watch, who is a exquisite manufacturer of watches over in Switzerland, and it's just unbelievable, the craftsmanship. And the watches are kind of similar to the train industry if you think about it. You have people who wear watches every day, but then you also have that collector market that like to collect different pieces and that high-end clientele. So I was on Facebook and I found a story from CBS News, and they had one on Ball Watch, and the history of Ball Watch with the railroad industry and actual trains was amazing. And I was floored by it because I'm actually not really even a watch guy. And I was just fascinated that these watches had so much history into actual trains. And years ago in the past, there were tons of accidents, and it was really dangerous to be an engineer and on these trains. So your watch had to be exact timing. And so I thought this story, and I watched the video, and I was just amazed by it, and amazed by the history of Ball Watch with railroad industry. So I don't know, I just reached out to them, and the executive director somehow got back to me, and we just started putting it together. We announced a pre-order launch, and we couldn't believe the amount of pre-orders that we received in 1 week. And I would have just been happy just to make it. something different, even if we lost some money on it. It is what it is. But the excitement and the energy behind this, it's never been done before. So a lot of people are excited. They want a collector's piece. And because this has done so well, it actually opens the door for more different series, maybe a big boy or a different train on the dial. And a lot of people are interested in this because they are watch fans and they are into trains or model trains. So they get to enjoy a little bit of both.
Wow. And I never knew that people collect watches. Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
Don't get me started, Ken. No.
It's another hobby, just like trains, Tony and Ray.
Wow. I know that's one of the best things about the Trainworld website. If you do suddenly come down to, oh my gosh, I need to get something, explain the gift certificate situation, Ken, that if it's Christmas Eve and suddenly I realize I didn't get so-and-so something and they're a train person and how would that work and how would they get things? Is it possible? I'm pretty sure it is. I think we've talked about this years past, but so how does the gift certificate process go and how do you make that happen for Christmas still if there's almost no time?
Yeah, so if you're like me and wait till the last minute, which many people do, gift cards are a great way, especially for the model train industry, because people are so unique and there's, thousands of options to buy someone something. And, a lot of times people don't know the right scale or the right, manufacturer that they prefer. So a gift card is really simple. We have digital e-gift cards right on our homepage that they could click. They take it to the link. You could enter whatever amount you want to purchase, and it just sends an email, and you could have it sent to the exact recipient, or you can make a printout and give it to them, and then they could forward the email at a later point. So it's just really quick and easy to use, and it's a great last-minute gift, and something they'll be happy about because they get to pick what present they want.
Absolutely. And I think that's for trained people. A lot of folks do give cash and things at the holidays. And so, and the nice thing too, that gift certificate could be a really nice cheat, Ray, if you're sitting there at a party a day or two before Christmas and somebody gives you something, or you're meeting with your train guys and you didn't expect it and it's like, oh, I ought to do something. You literally could pull your phone out and say, hey, hang on, I got to make this call. And boom, and it's like, oh, did you get that? Yeah, I got that for you. I got that a couple months ago and told them to send it today while we were having this get together. So yeah, you can, it's a nice way to go. And speaking of the, getting cash at Christmas, Trainworld always has amazing closeouts. That's one of the slogan, the closeout kings. And I think Walther's stuff I saw in the last week, Ray, they have got proto F units with DCC and sound at prices that knock your eyes out. And they're the nice Great Northern Empire builders. And then I just saw you've got some of the nice Walther's mainline, again with DCC and sound for about the price of what that DCC sound decoder would be. I saw at least 2 or 3 road names at Santa Fe Zebra Stripe. I think it's a Jeep 7. No, it's a Jeep 9, I think phase 2 that you've got in like a little more than $100, which again, if you went and said, I would like to buy this decoder and a speaker, no, well, that's about what it would cost. So you're almost getting the locomotive for free. So there's always incredible deals, and you can get that stuff signing up to the newsletter. You'll get that email, and there's also texts that they'll send out when they've got sales, or like when Ken and I are doing a show, so you don't miss shows. You can sign up for that. And in fact, sometimes I'll be working and the text goes off and it says Trainworld will be live tonight with, Arthur. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. I got to go get clean. I need to go shave.
Becomes your personal assistant, doesn't it, Tony?
Yes. Yeah.
We like to make things easy for Tony.
Yeah, that's great. But as you're speaking of that and the live events and whatnot, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing with Tony with some of these live events? And then I see quite at the bottom a lot of the social media links as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, Tony's a man of the industry. He really cares about the model train industry, and he does it for everyone, not just us singular. He's been with and helped out all the manufacturers, all dealers. Been on your podcast as well. He's just really great to work with. He's easy. The knowledge that he has and the experience in the industry is bar none. It's just unbelievable. He's a walking encyclopedia for trains and model trains. So the whole industry has a big debt of gratitude for Tony Cook for this industry. And the live streams that we do, Tony really makes it nice and easy. He's just a breath of fresh air. So we really appreciate him being on these shows. And I think I speak for all the manufacturers and dealers and all the podcasts out there as well, that it's just nice to have someone who's really into the hobby, interested, and his excitement and enthusiasm. And, you see him light up when he sees something he wants, which is almost everything. And I think that's the magic. So, yeah.
That's quite a glowing endorsement, Tony.
Well, yeah, there are times we've been on shows where Ken will say, and then I can't remember what it was, but in the last month or two, we had done a show and I had missed whatever this one exclusive thing was. And literally it was like, okay, guys, let's wrap this up because I want to go get this pre-ordered, that I didn't realize this was coming out and I want to get this. But yeah, I think, Ken has got great excitement and I get pretty wound up on train stuff. And, the fun thing when you watch these shows that I think Ken and I talking to whoever, as we get excited talking about it, they do too. And a lot of times we get some neat information out of them. Well, I didn't mean to say that. Or, oh yeah, we're going to do this. And so you get a lot of exclusive or inside stuff with, when we talk on these shows. And I know I get emails on that of, wow, that was so neat. I didn't realize this did this, or that this was going to come out too, or they're working on this project. So yeah, that excitement at times, people, I think some of the guests get a little carried away with us and suddenly we'll spill beans on, oh, that was neat to hear. So they're fun to do.
And that's why I think this hobby is in actually a great shape and growing stronger than ever. I mean, Ray, you have a podcast that really offers a niche and a unique aspect for the model train industry. You're bringing in all these different manufacturers and, clubs and all this great stuff talking about model trains. Tony has a great magazine, so he's targeting through there, modeltrainresource.com. As well with our company, we have different social media outlets. So there's so much information to be had out there, and there's so much exposure for model trains. And I think that's why it's really great to be a model train enthusiast right now. There's just all these different avenues. I mean, if you're on Facebook, there's tons of information on Facebook. If you like the magazines, there's still outlets for magazines for coverage, model railroad news. If you're into podcasts and you're traveling to work, Around the Layout podcast. I mean, there's so many different avenues that people can go to for model trains. And that's why I think it's just amazing. You hear a lot of people say, oh, model trains is dying. But I think there's more outlets and exposure now than ever before. So I think it's really unique. And Ray, you do a great job with your podcast. The exposure through the podcast world. I could never do podcast. I think it's amazing what you do, and it's incredible. You have a voice for the people out there. So it's really cool that there's all different exposures and different segments and avenues that people could learn about trains.
I appreciate the kind words. And if I could accomplish only one thing with this podcast, if I'm able to help put the thought that the hobby is dying to rest, then I've accomplished what I really need to do. It isn't. And talking with you at Trainworld and, like you said, the manufacturers, there's so many of them. I look at the offerings that you have, just the vast amount of vendors that are available, products that are available. It's absolutely amazing. And if anybody thinks the hobby's dying, no, it's just evolving, and it's evolving into a very amazing thing with all these abilities to communicate. And then hobby shops like yourself expanding beyond the brick and mortar and reaching out not only with a website with products, but the live events that you do and all the social media channels that you're involved in just really help reach model railroaders from around the globe.
Yeah, and Ray and Tony, I use your avenues like your podcast and your news magazines for our business as well. So if I see a different company or a new line, I'm interested. So I look at your sources and your podcasts, your news magazines, your websites to really make business decisions on product that we want to carry as well. So it's really nice to have those different sources of information come in.
So, Ken, before we let you go, have you bought anybody any train stuff for Christmas? I mean, you're there with it every day. Do you? I mean, I know your dad's down in Florida a lot. I mean, is there any train stuff on Ken Bianco's shopping list this year?
So it's funny you say that. I've been very late in shopping just because I've been so busy. I've been working 7 days a week for a while now, but there's this company that's called HAPE, and they're overseas, but they make this wooden train board display. And I have a new godson that I'm very fortunate and blessed. So I'm really happy about that. And he's going to be turning 1. And I took a picture of this and I sent it to my sister and I was like, he's got to have this. and it, those like train beds that like are giant size. So this is like a life-size train board. And I was like, this has to go in the house somehow. Wow. So I don't think she was excited about the size and magnitude of it, but I am slowly working on it and trying to make it happen. So
wow.
that will be my gift present. And I think it would be really cool for some social media pictures of a life-size train that a little kid could kind of walk and be a real engineer with.
Wow. Isn't that incredible? That's really awesome.
I think you just highlighted the spirit of giving in trains and just how exciting it can be not only to receive, but to give the gift of model railroading and railroading and everything that comes along with it. So as we wrap up here, Ken, why don't you tell us how folks that are listening now can connect with you at Trainworld and Trainland?
Sure. Yep. There's 2 simple ways. You could visit us at the retail location, Trainland in Limbrook, Long Island, or you could go to trainworld.com, shop anywhere in the world for any of your model train needs, whether beginner or advanced, as well as if you're looking for information about model trains. We have tons of resources on our websites, on our help pages. We have starter set guides, DCC guides, all that fun stuff, as well as social media, YouTube videos. We put videos up like 3-4 times a week, different videos about different product, different model train sets, the difference between scales, sizes, Facebook, Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it, Instagram, TikTok, all that fun stuff. We're all over, and we appreciate all the followers and people who are into model trains. It has been a fantastic journey and ride, and we really appreciate all our consumers out there, as well as Tony and Ray. You both do a fantastic job, and kudos to both of you for promoting this industry, for taking the time out of your day to just talk about trains and promote trains. It's guys like you that are really growing the hobby and taking it to the next level. So we really appreciate both of you.
Well, we certainly appreciate the kind words, and it was great to have you on the show here again. Ken Bianco Jr. from Trainworld.com. Thanks for joining us here on Around the Layout.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I am certainly glad that you were able to bring Ken along from Trainworld. It's a place that I've been. It's a great hobby shop, and it was really cool to hear from him and how they're bustling along during the Christmas season.
Absolutely. I mean, they're busy year round, but this has got to be just crazy time. So, but a lot of fun. I mean, when you listen to the stories that he tells about, folks coming in with I'd like to put a train around the tree and I know nothing about it. I mean, how exciting as someone that's into model trains like you and I to have somebody ask about that, like, oh, well, there's all sorts of cool things. Yeah. So that's really neat. Ken's a great guy.
Yeah, what an awesome opportunity to bring people into the hobby and teach them at that level. Just a really cool experience. But so you got me a nice long list of notes here to go through for the what's happening section here, and they just continue to roll out. So let's get into it. Tell me what's new in model railroading.
We do indeed for December 2023. Yeah, here we go. I picked out a handful of things that caught my attention. I think I saw it delivered on a pallet that maybe Bachmann shared, showing him coming in. But those highly anticipated Simmons Venture passenger cars are arriving as a Bachmann model. I think the first are those yellow band Via, but there are Amtrak ones coming as well. And I think they've now announced them for N-scale in addition. But these HO scale passenger cars, that's the newest stuff running on Via and Amtrak that have just been going into service. And they look spectacular. I mean, Bachmann on all the Amtrak stuff they've been doing of recent has really surprised a lot of folks. And I know there's a lot of excitement about these venture passenger cars, and they are arriving as we speak.
Awesome. It's neat that they can get ahead of or right alongside of, the prototype. As the prototype is putting out product, so are the manufacturers able to put it out right alongside of it. That's really neat to see.
That's very cool. Yeah. Classic Metal Works, the mini metals. Sometimes these slip off my radar, and I watch that Round 2 is the company that distributes those. And, a lot of us that are into model trains, you probably also maybe have an interest in, like the 125th car kits, automobiles, that kind of stuff. And I always watch Round 2 does a monthly update on YouTube where they walk through all their things, from the giant 118 scale, like diecast automobiles, to some of the slot cars. This is like Auto World, Johnny Lightning, some of those brands. And they now own and distribute Classic Metalworks Mini Metals line. And I saw there's several. That Ford box truck, it's a mid-50s Ford truck with the box delivery back. There's a Morton Salt with its classic imagery, and then the Mayflower Moving, also in its classic, that green and yellow. Those are coming out in HO and an N scale. They're supposed to arrive right after the first of the year. And I really like, there's a Coca-Cola, and there's also a Cam's Beer, KAMM''S. I don't know if that's it. Have you ever heard of that? I don't know that.
I have not heard of Cam's Beer.
That may be something that they just conjured for the model. I'd need to look. But the Coca-Cola one is an official licensed Coke thing. And it's so neat. It has that's a early mid 1940s Chevrolet truck with a flatbed trailer that has the old style, the wooden crates with the packs of bottles. And they did a really nice job in the tooling to create that load on there. Really does look like a truck full of little mini 8 packs of Coke bottles. And that and the beer version will arrive also right after the first of the year. And those are nice. They come fully assembled for the most part. I think the HO, you put the side mirrors are chrome plated and included in there, and you attach those to the model. The HO guys, we get one for $23.99, I think is retail. The N-scale guys, those lucky guys on like those Ford trucks, they get two for $27.99. I think the beverage delivery truck is HO only, but you can look that stuff up. Sometimes, as I say that'll roll past me, but they make all kinds of things. They just sent me, they've got Coca-Cola machines, the little red to like set around a business, and then stacks of like boxed, I think I got Sprite and Fanta Orange, for like loads. So you could have that truck and you could have things sitting to the side like they were unloading. So there's all kinds of things in that popular line, the red carded packages, which I'm sure you've seen in hobby shops. But all those releases we mentioned are coming out after the first of the year.
Yeah, it's autoworldstore.com. Really nice website. I just banged around a little bit on it, and you can actually sort by scale, so you can check out all their offerings. And there's actually a link for model railroading and showing you in 187th and also N scale and so on. So really well done.
I'm going to warn you, though, if you go to that site, you're going to end up looking at some of those automobile kits. And I that's what usually happens to me. Like, oh, look at that old Ford, whatever. It's like, man, maybe I need that. So yeah, that's a bit danger warning there for you. Of you may end up also looking at things a little non-model railroadish. I've got a new company to share out of Springfield, Illinois. Jackson Standard Models has an HO scale modern relay box that they've released. They injection mold this with their own equipment in Springfield in central Illinois. And this modern relay box, if you go to their website, they have pictures of the prototype, and they even tell you it's Safe Something is the name of the company. So you can be the ultimate rivet counter and tell folks that's a whatever prototype little metal relay box standing next to you right away. But it's a nice kit. It's $12. It has etched metal, the little lift rings. Like I assume they put those on the back of a truck and take them out to where they need them on the railroad and drop them and wire them up in place. And $12, nice thing. Brian Jackson is the Jackson of Jackson Standard Models and is a longtime model railroad guy. And those came in the last week. And I've got, if you're interested, there's a video up on Model Train Resource that you can see those. And I share pictures of the prototypes. So jacksonstandard.com is his website. And you can order direct from there. And I believe he's also selling to hobby shops. So take a look for those. They come on a little packet. It's like the sprue. They're molded in gray, and it comes bagged with, and then the little etched section to cut off the little lifts to apply. Looks like a very easy kit to put together. I think I could even do it, which is, there you go. And that's in a HO scale.
I've seen these online, and I'm seeing them now. Amazing detail on this. So these will make a great looking relay shed on any modern railroad.
Yeah. There's a new book, and I spoke with the author, and photographer, and you may have seen some of his photos posted like Facebook and other places. John Crisanti has Montana Rail Link Through My Lens. And with everybody's talking Montana Rail Link these days, as it's going to become a fallen flag, that BNSF has, reacquired that section of what was old, I think, Northern Pacific. But John's work, I've followed it for a long time on Facebook. He's an amazing rail photographer, really nice stuff. And this is going to be a hardcover, like couple 100-page book of him documenting Montana Rail Link. It's available for pre-order now. And I think if you look, John Abaticola at TSG Multimedia interviewed John Crisanti in the last couple weeks. So look up TSG Multimedia and you can find out more in that interview. And as I say, the book is available for pre-order as well. But I'm excited to see it. That's again a hot topic right now.
This book proves out that theory that I've been saying for anybody who's also into railroad photography and you think you missed the golden era. Just keep shooting, because eventually what you're shooting now will become a golden era, like John Crisanti has done here with the Montana Rail Link.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a new coupler from Kadee Quality Products, the SBE bottom shelf coupler. It's their number 120. This is one of their metal scale head with the whiskers on the side, which I love that style of coupler from them. And this it looks like it's got like an extra pinky below the knuckle. And this is for the tank cars. There's some with the top shelf and then there's bottom shelf. And it's for, in case of they crash the cars together too hard, like coupling them up or whatever, that it's supposed to keep the coupler from raising up and you're going in and like puncturing a tank car or something ahead of it. But this specialty coupler is a new addition to Kadee's line. I think this one's a center shank, and I need to double check if they're doing short or long shanks for them as well. But, if you're into wanting everything to be just so and just right, this is a nice addition to that line. And again, I think it's tank car appropriate for the most part and correct for more, contemporary modern era.
Absolutely. I've been changing over my couplers from the regular heads over to scale heads, and this will definitely be something on my list here as well as I start to bring all my cars around. Kadee, to me, is like, it's Kadee or bust when it comes to for operations. They just work so well, and now I'm seeing the difference, and the scale heads are where I'm heading towards. So this will definitely be something I'll be purchasing soon.
I like the scale head coupler. I think they look so good on equipment that again, my choice as well. Menards, and I think we've talked Menards before, and unfortunately you don't have Menards out there in the East, do you? The Menards store chain?
No, I think they're very much Midwest, aren't they, Menards?
They are. They absolutely are. I'm lucky to have several of them around me when I'm in the Kansas City area, and they have been just going gangbusters with their Menards collectibles line. It's largely O gauge, but they also do some HO scale. They've just done an ACF 2-bay center flow, and it rolled out in the last month or two. And they've already got several road names. Some of them are fanciful. There's like a Union Pacific with the large Building America flag, and they even offer that as a weathered version. But then there's others that are really authentic and prototypical looking. There's a gray one with reporting marks and like those yellow reflector conspiction, whatever you say that, stripes along the side of the car. And I've got a couple samples of these, and boy, look at that price. I think it's about a $35 car that is what they sell it for. And a lot of times Menards has deals on different things. This car's got an etched metal see-through walkway around it. It's nicely done, plastic molded, good detail. If you're into, O-gauge stuff, or you've got a train around the tree kind of deal, boy, this Menards rolling stock has got to be one of the best deals out there for folks pursuing 148th, whether it's toy train or again, this one's a nice, it all looks good to where you could change the couplers out and the trucks and turn it into a scale model if you wanted to, scale operation.
Yeah, for sure. Nice looking cars, and neat that they're coming weathered as an option. That's pretty neat.
That is very neat. I got an update from Jonathan Meador at Pico America. In fact, just I think it was the last 24 hours I spoke with him. And the much anticipated HO scale Kraus Maffei diesel hydraulics for Southern Pacific, that first run, he is saying that he should have samples to me soon. On right now, the non-sounder landing first, and then the DCC sound will follow. So if you've been looking for those and wondering when, that's probably in the last year has been one of the locomotive models I've had the most questions about is, hey, when are those, and more about them. You can go to pico-america.com, their website, and see additional information, but they are very close. Their hope was to have them delivered by end of year. It looks like the standard DC, which would be, DCC ready, will arrive first, and then maybe right after the first of the year, we'll have DCC sound versions. So that's such a curious and unique prototype that it should be an eye-popping model. I spoke with David Elbach at Tangent Scale Models, and you can find there's a little 10-minute short piece that I talked to him about his new Bethlehem 3350 coal hoppers. And when this came out, I had first just taken a glance at it. I know he'd done a Union Pacific prototype hopper, many years ago. That had to be probably in his first dozen or so releases, I believe. And I assumed that this was that car. And this is a completely newly tooled hopper. This is kind of the Eastern equivalent of that Union Pacific Bethlehem car. Again, made by Bethlehem Steel from 1974 to 1980. They were the backbone of like the Clinchfield and L&N coal hopper roster fleets of that era. They went on to Seaboard and CSX. And then he's even done a couple patched ones where they're Clinchfields that went on to Wisconsin Central release. I think as we talked about it, and you can see a little more information on his website, tangentscalemodels.com, or again on Model Train Resources YouTube. I've got a piece where we kind of talk through and he explains some of the differences, but I think he's done 4 in this run. There's 4 different whether it's braking or other, minor changes, 4 different types of the hopper and 2 different coal loads. He's done the flood load style and the tipple style coal load.
You've heard me praise them before. TangentScaleModels.com. You click on and find the Bethlehem Steel 3350 cubic foot quad coal hoppers, and you're going to learn a whole bunch on these cars. All the information that they provide is phenomenal.
I agree. That's one thing I find that's a lot of fun. He makes it easy for me to review models because it's one-stop shopping that I can see what he did, the road numbers, and he usually always has some good prototype information, which is always a benefit. But those are available, as he always says, when the stuff comes out or is announced, it's available now. So those are out there now from Tangent Direct, or you can get them through. There's a select group of hobby dealers that carry Tangent scale models as well. Big boy. Will there ever be enough big boy models in the hobby, do you think, Ray?
I don't know. I think it's a very popular locomotive. People obviously following the prototypes around, and I think there's going to be a lot of folks that would want to put one on their layout or even on their shelf.
I would agree. I don't think we'll ever run out of demand for and models of Union Pacific's big boy steam locomotive. There's a new one that'll be out after the first of the year from Trix, which is, one of the Markland's N-Scale brand. This is it will come with their MFX, which operates DCC sound decoder system, and it will have smoke. It's got both of the smokestacks. I've seen early pictures have the ability, they've got the smoke outlet, so it will produce smoke that can also be controlled on DCC. This one is set up this is not a 4014 restored. This has got a coal tender, and I think it's 4013 or 4012. I forget which number they did, but this is 1950. So this is when the big boys were just regular, if you could say regular pieces of equipment operating on the Union Pacific. And it's a Trix release due after the beginning of 2024. Awesome. Do you have a big boy? Do you have a big boy in your collection?
I do not, but maybe N-Scale would fit on a shelf around in the office here. That would be pretty cool thing to look at.
That would look good, yeah. I can't say what it is, but be watching for Rapido Train's annual Christmas video. They've got new HO and N-Scale announcements, and the HO announcement especially, I think, will be a very fun thing. And I believe it's Christmas Day that video comes out where they announce things, which is always kind of a nice, fun surprise on Christmas. So again, Rapido Trains, and they put that out, I think, Facebook, YouTube, all those places, but their annual Christmas video, and there's some new products, and boy, the HO one I'm excited about and wish I could say more, but mum is the word.
I can guarantee you one thing it'll have in it is a lot of fun. Those guys have a lot of fun doing their videos, and just a great amount of entertainment that comes out of the folks from Rapido.
Absolutely. And then my last, I'm going to do a plug for, I produce the Model Railroad News, the HO Collector Annual and Diesel Era for White River Productions. Their 2024 World of Railroading calendar is available now. It's a color calendar that combines both prototype railroading images as well as some model train images that kind of highlight the various publications that White River does. And I think it's $16.95, and it is available now. You can go to shop.whiteriverproductions.com and find out more. So again, that's always another spot to look for books and catch up on the magazines and things that I do. But really pretty calendar. The new Rock Island, the one guy down in Mississippi that's doing Rock Island stuff is the cover of that calendar. So check it out. Those also a lot of hobby shops carry White River products. We'll have that too.
Well, seeming as if I must have missed out on the BNSF calendar this year, I'm going to have to get myself one. So I'll be purchasing a World of Railroading 2024 calendar momentarily. And now it's time to Ask Tony. This is where listeners like you have their model railroad questions answered by our resident expert, Tony Cook. We've selected 2 questions for Tony to answer this month. Here's our first question.
Hey, Tony, this is Thomas from Oklahoma City. So with Montana Rail Link about to become a fallen flag within the next few weeks, Does any of the manufacturers have any desires or hinting them making more MRL equipment, particularly a lot of their 4-axle locomotives? And while I'm still thinking about it, the old Amtrak Tagos are about to disappear too. Thanks.
Certainly a lot of documentation, as you say, like John's book. I know that there's kind of a lot of those finale type, whether it's magazine articles or other things. There's Montana Rail Link things there. I've always felt like there needs to be more Montana Rail Link, models in all the scales, that I feel like it's a bit underrepresented. What's come out recently, there are 70 aces, I believe they are, from Cato and N-Scale. And the special paints, they have the veterans unit and a first responders special paint. Those have been done in several scales. But like regular equipment, I know recently Intermountain did a 50-foot sliding door boxcar in both HO and N. And then in Atlas in O scale has done a covered hopper, like a Pullman Standard rib side 3-bay. But I've not seen, any kind of, because with Montana Rail Link going away, anybody doing anything special model wise. And yeah, I think there needs to be more. And I agree, boy, the 4 axles, Montana Rail Link, especially in its early days, had some really odd ducks on the roster that secondhand units that they operated. So hopefully so, as you say, you talked about John shooting those pictures, and at the time it would have just been regular railroading, and now it means something because it's disappearing. I think same thing there. I think just as you find Conrail and some of those roads now get more attention in models than they did when they were alive, that I think it'll grow, and Montana Rail Link especially will get more to it. But no, unfortunately, I would agree with his request that there should be, but not that I know of at this point.
I would imagine that demand increases with nostalgia.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, and before we move on, I didn't answer the Talgo part of the question. And yes, those Talgo, the Talgo passenger set that works out in the Pacific Northwest are retiring, and they were unique pieces. I kick myself all the time because ER model importers had those in HO scale probably the better part of 20 years ago or more, maybe 25. And I can remember at the time seeing some of them as a good deal, and I thought, I should pick those up. They were made, and I think they are nice models as I remember seeing them. And I never picked them up, even when some of them were on closeout or discount. And I see them now on eBay and think, oh my gosh, I should have bought 2 sets of them back then. So yeah, but you can get them, but you're going to have to do a little bit of work. They're on my list if I ever see one sitting at a show or the right deal on eBay. But yeah, and who knows, with the way Rapido comes to mind with some of the things they do, that they could suddenly decide that that's something to produce and do a new version.
All right. And now question number 2.
Hey, Tony, this is Joe Bohannon from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And my question today is, while model trains have historically been made from plastic, brass, wood, and even cardboard, what other unusual materials have you come across that they've been made from?
Materials that model trains were made out of, he really pretty much nailed them all. And, plastic, I think, is the most common that we know of and work with. And that's what most of our models are, is plastic shells. And that comes about after World War II in the early 50s is when kind of the plastic takes over for what was die-cast metal castings before then, or as he mentions, wood and some metal pieces and like Zamek and different things like that. The one material that's kind of an odd, and I consider it an offshoot of plastic, but it really is not. But in the first run of River Rossi's Sea Liner, before AHM, before it was Lionel HO, like in 1951 or 2, they shot that Sea Liner in Bakelite. Which again, it's kind of like plastic, but it's sort of brittle. And I have an example of that shell, and it's odd because when you look at it at first, you go, it's just plastic. But then again, it has a different feel and slightly different look. It's shot in black. Bakelite, I think, is probably maybe most famous for, and now it's so old, a lot of people was like, well, I don't know what you're talking about, those old rotary dial telephones the base and such of those, I think a Bakelite telephone was pretty a common, maybe one of the most common uses for the product. And I don't think, other than that sea liner, I think Rivarossi moves on to plastic by the late 50s. But that's probably one of the most uncommon materials I've seen. And if you're not familiar, you can, Google Bakelite, and I think it is like bake, like baking a cake, Bake, and then maybe light, like Lite. And it generally, one of its problems is I think it breaks down, kind of how Zamek, frames and stuff will crack or go into crumbs if they're not of a good, robust mixture. And Bakelite, I think, was another kind of troublesome product. But Google that, or look into that sometime. There's probably somebody with a YouTube video explaining what the product was. But if you're looking for an obscure model railroad item, and they do come up from time to time, look for one of those original early Rivarossi sea liners made out of Bakelite.
Bakelite is a great name because it was formerly, and I'm going to try this, polyoxybentyl methyl N-genicola hydride.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, they took every letter from the alphabet and used it in this name for it, but I think Bakelite rolls off the tongue a little easier.
Huh. Yeah. And as I say, it was used in a lot of things, and that's the only, there may be something else, but that's the only use I know in model railroading. And again, it was in those early days of plastic, so they might have gone that direction. And then somebody said, "Oh, wait a minute, how about this new plastic stuff?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, we'll go that way." And I've seen some of those shells. At times they tend to, again, brittle is the thing I see on old examples of them today, where they'll be cracked or they kind of break. It's almost like if you had it molded in like chocolate and you just, could crush it. That's kind of what it's like. But it's a very good question. And that's kind of one of the more uncommon or unique things that would be an answer to that.
Well, Thomas and Joe, thank you for your questions. And if you want to have your question answered on what's happening in model railroading by Tony Cook, submit your question at aroundthelayout.com. Click on Ask Tony and look below, give you instructions on how to record your question for an upcoming What's Happening in Model Railroading episode.
I love doing those. That's, and that's one of those things I see that on. In fact, yesterday, someone had posted on a Facebook page for HO model trains. They had an old Bachmann set and said, "I don't know anything about it. It's new, but do you know when it was made?" And I love that archaeology end of the hobby. And I started looking at it. I saw its SKU number. It's like, okay, it's got a 3-digit number, and Bachmann changed their numbering in like 81 or 82 to longer numbers. So I can already tell you it's that. And then looking at the yellow bands on the packages inside the train set, those don't come around till the mid 70s. So now we've got it down to about 1975 to 80. And then looking at some of the other pieces, it's a fun, that kind of thing. I can suddenly be doing something that I need to get done, like for the magazines, and we'll see a Facebook post like that. I'm like, okay, wait a minute, let me go get this kit, because now you got me wondering, yeah, what is that? When was that? Let me see. And okay, see, this is odd about that, because that seems too late for this, but then look at how the packages are. And so, yeah, it's fun stuff. So, yeah, please bring on the questions.
Well, that is what you do. And part of what you do is also your model train resource. Why don't you tell us a bit about that and where that can be found?
Oh, yeah. Model Train Resource is modeltrainresource.com. And then the YouTube channel, it had been on the plan since the new website came back on, which has been about a year now that website's been back out. I had wanted to do videos, because when I'm working on products, or if I get some vintage piece on eBay, kind of that ooh and ah and oh, now that I see it, look, it has this. And I wanted to do some of those kind of things. And I just started, it was kind of one of those, well, let me try one out. And now I'm about 6 weeks in as this podcast comes out, and I'm right around 500 subscribers. They're short videos. My goal is not to compete with a lot of those guys that kind of do the long form, 15, 30-minute reviews. I basically just want to hit the high points of, here's what struck me when I opened it. Here's what it comes with. This is what to expect. I do those. And then I also do, my what are you reading, where again I look at, because I wonder, I'll see that a new magazine's out, but you see the cover, it's like, well, what's that story like, and what other articles are in there? And so I page through and share things that I see in books and magazines with kind of a what are you reading, and you get a look to see like, yeah, I do want to check out that issue. And then I've got a couple, I do a couple of long form things, but they tend to be more, as I say, I talked with David Elbach on those tangent coal hoppers, and you know him, Mike Ostertag, that we talked about the Scale Trains S Helper coal hopper, because it comes with the scale wheels and replacement scale couplers, but there's no parts diagram and no instructions on what goes where. And while that seems obvious, like on the wheels, well, you take the ones that are in there out and put the scale ones in. But the coupler is attached to the truck on the American Flyer style setup, and there's pre-drilled holes in the hopper base to put that coupler pocket there, but there were like 3 kinds of screws. There was a shim that I couldn't decide if it was part of the coupler pocket. I mean, there were enough pieces that I said, okay, Mike, let's do this. And we do a video where Mike sets it up with the camera overhead on his workbench and goes through and does that conversion, so you can see the setup on that hopper car. So all kinds of good stuff, and that's on YouTube. I think you can just search Model Train Resource, and boy, with all the stuff I got rolling in all the time, I end up putting videos up almost daily, it seems like.
Now, we always love content from Tony Cook and your adventures in model railroading, as you're writing articles and opening boxes and doing videos and appearing live with folks. You're just covering all the gamut, but we certainly appreciate you taking the time out to join us here on Around the Layout and share the news with us. So until next time, Tony, happy holidays. You enjoy, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yes, happy holidays, Ray, and we'll see you in the new year.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Around the Layout. Learn more about today's show on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Around the Layout. Show your support by becoming an operating crew member at patreon.com/Around the Layout podcast. Past episodes and more can be found on our website, aroundthelayout.com. And send us your feedback, aroundthelayout@gmail.com. Thanks for hanging out with us around the layout.